So you have a bit of money and you heard about this tax-free savings account and you just want to understand the mechanics of it all. So this is what we're going to look at in this video here. So a few things that we're going to cover in this video is how a tax-free savings account, how much you're allowed to contribute, how much more are you expected to be allowed to contribute every year, and then what happens if you put money in and you take it out? Can you contribute again? How does that all work? So first and foremost, your level of contribution depends how long you have been an adult since the inception of this tax-free savings account. I, for one, have been an adult from the very beginning, so I would just add up all the different amounts of maximal contribution for all the previous years, and that would give me my contribution possibility this year. So if you add up all those amounts of you being an adult, you'll get the maximum amount that you could contribute. Even if you've never contributed in the past, that is your amount. If you contributed in the past, well, how much you've contributed is deducted from that maximal amount, and then you could see what you have left. If you filed income taxes, you'll probably see somewhere along your income tax report online, you'll see like the maximum TFSA contribution for the following year. And that's pretty much what's being told there. But if you wanted to calculate it out because you haven't seen it in your income tax returns, simply refer to the document that is joined in here. And if you can't find it because the link's broken, just type in tax-free savings account, guide for individuals in Canada, and you'll figure it out. And if you look at it, the contribution room, well, in the first 2 years it was about 5,000 and went up 5,500. There's this 1 year that was 10,000. It was an election year where the Conservatives actually lost, but they bumped it up that specific year. And then the Liberals who got in power brought it back to a more reasonable amount of 5,500. It's gone up to 6,000. And what they say now is that it's indexed to inflation and rounded to the nearest 500. So at some point it's going to become 6,500 and so on. Of course, if another politician comes in and decides to kind of change it and jump it up to 10,000 again, that's a possibility. But this is the direction that we're going with this. So this is the level of contribution that you could add to this tax-free savings account. In this document here, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of questions you could ask yourself on like how to open up an account and how am I eligible, what accounts, what information, what stocks and whatever can I put into this. And generally speaking, I'd say it's quite flexible. There's a lot of things that you can buy and shelter it from taxes in a tax-free savings account. It's not just limited to very basic savings account. You could actually have like more complex mutual funds, more risky things. A lot of things are fair game within this. However, you have a limit and you don't want to pass that limit. There is fees if you pass that limit, and you'd say, well, how would I pass this limit? Well, if you open up an account with Desjardins and then another account with another bank, well, they might not always be looking at how much you contribute in another bank. So for some reason, you might have passed it and there is fees associated to that. So make sure you don't pass your limit. And then what happens if you take this money out? Because the purpose of a tax-free savings account is for you to be able to put money aside and then use it to make purchases in the future. Contrary to a registered retirement savings plan, which has a very specific purpose, which is retirement. And in the mathematical example that compares the two, you could see that that is very much more tailored towards someone who's putting money aside and then taking that money out in a period where they're earning a lot less because they're in retirement. But here, it's more the idea of I want to buy a house or a piece of land or a boat or something else in the future. And I just want to put money aside and I want to get the most bang for my buck, because compared to just depositing into a savings account, well, the two amounts that you're depositing are after-tax income. It's money that you have in your bank account that you don't owe to the government. But one of them, all the interest that you're going to earn on it will not be taxable. And in the other account, all those interests earned on stocks or bonds or whatever else will have a certain tax applied to it. So you won't make as much. So definitely a better scenario here with the tax-free savings account. But at some point in the future, you might want to make that purchase and take that money out. And that's an example that I did. I bought myself an electric car and I took my money out from my tax-free savings account. Well, what happens then is in that specific year, the amount that you've taken out, you're not allowed to recontribute. But in the following year, you can. So let's say you have a limit of 50,000 and you take 30,000 out. and then you only had deposited 30,000. That's why you only took 30,000 out. Well, that extra 20,000 that you could have deposited, you could still deposit in that given year. However, if you had that extra 20,000 deposited and you only took 30 out, well, you've had already maxed out the 50,000. So at that point, taking money out, you're not allowed to deposit it back in that specific year. When the following year you can. But if you want to get into the nitty-gritty details about all of this, I suggest you guys to look at the file from the government, and you'll be able to see all the details, and you'll be able to figure out, well, when do I actually become an adult? How does that work? And see how much you could contribute. So there'll be a series of questions and different things to look at with regards to this. And if we think of your Excel model that you're building, make sure that you consider this idea that this is how much more you can contribute per year, and that's going to be adjusted to inflation. Let's just treat it like that for now. Keep it nice and simple, but let's keep it as realistic as possible. So I hope you guys found this interesting, that you have a little bit more of an idea of how the tax-free savings account work, how it could work for you, what are the limitations, how much you could contribute, and how much you could contribute again, even if you take money out. There's kind of like no limit to it. It's just the idea that it's based on your total limit, based on your age and all the previous years, and then based on your contributions. But if you take money out the following year, what you haven't contributed compared to your maximal limit is fair game. It's up for grabs again. So it's a very interesting tool. It is something that has to be taken into account, because since this introduction, it made the case for renting a little bit more advantageous compared to buying, because you have access to this for your savings. So keep it in mind, use it as much as you can. If you have any savings, it's very useful and it's very lucrative. It's much more lucrative than paying taxes on those earnings. So I hope you guys found this video interesting. I'll catch you guys on the next one. If you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing or joining my class, where I guide you to apply and expand on the information found in these videos to real life examples. Have a good day.